Hi guys, I'm Ted and I'm here to give you another fast fact, and for today's fast fact, we're going to discuss the Fox Wars. Now, the Fox Wars were two successive conflicts regarding the French and their native allies against the Fox or the Outagamis in the Great Lakes regions. Now, the Fox were an outlying power in the fur trade who commanded a river-based trade network that was vital to French interests in the American continental interior. Now, the Fox had for generations been attempting to act as middlemen to the French interests in the interior, and they were largely unsuccessful. The French were uninterested in serving as and having other native groups serve as middlemen. They wanted to deal directly with their fur providers, their suppliers. Now things came to a head when Antoine de la Motte Cadillac established what would later become Detroit to take advantage of the easier water trade routes. Now, this was accompanied by the French invitation to her allies to send settlers to found villages around their settlements. Now, the French policy was to tie strong native confederacies to them with special trading privileges. Now, everything came to a head in 1712 when the Fox settled a large number of their tribal members overlooking the French settlement. This unnerved the French, who were pretty perturbed by the Fox presence. Now, the French sent for and received additional native reinforcements, and this led to a swift and hard campaign to force the Fox to retreat. Now, the Foxes suffered heavy casualties in the war, and many of them were captured and enslaved by the French and their native allies. And the enslaved Foxes were subsequently transported and sent to what is now Canada, what we would now consider Quebec, to serve as a labor class, an agricultural labor class. Now the French, they were able to establish peace with the Fox in 1726, but it broke down almost immediately. And now the Second Fox War was truly destructive, not just for the Fox, but also really for the French. Now the Fox suffered tremendously. They endured enormous casualties, and they were the subject to really massive slave raiding. I mean, imagine like a village is assaulted. Maybe a third are killed, a quarter are killed, and everybody else is simply taken into slavery. That was the effect of the Second Fox War on the Fox community. The raids were really conducted by the native allies of the French, the Illini in particular. Now the three groups that the French were interested in making substantial trade contacts with west of the Great Lakes were the Sauk, the Sioux, and the Iowa. And they were just shocked. They were shocked, unnerved, and really put off by the French conduct, by what the French allowed their native allies to do and what the French themselves were doing to the Fox. To be certain, they were no fans of the Fox, but they were not really fans of what was happening to the Fox. And now they refused to help the Fox at first, but had the war dragged on and had to begin to dawn on those three groups and other groups that the Fox the Fox had the people may simply be eliminated, may simply be exterminated due to these activities. They relented. The Sauk agreed to help them. This led to an anti-French alliance amongst the native people. And this led the French to call off the war in an effort to sort of repair their damage in 1738, but the damage was already done. The Sauk and the French, and the Fox, I'm sorry, the Sauk and the Fox would sort of closely ally themselves after the war. And they would in turn turn to France's great enemy, the British. And and thereafter they would serve as Britain's chief allies against the French and against the French native ally. They would sort of be the countermeasure. Now, up until now, whenever the French went to war against the British or the British colonies, they pretty much were able to, they and their native allies were able to count on their western borders, their western boundaries being largely unaffected. If you're fighting in the east, if your enemy's in the east, you're moving to the east. Your enemy doesn't have to, your enemy is not expected to simply circumnavigate around your positions and simply attack you in the rear. Now they have an enemy in their rear, and the British and their enemy are going to exploit the situation. The French, for their part, they were able to garner massive amounts of native slaves, but in holding these slaves, in holding the Fox as slaves, and their inability to curtail their allies, notably the Illini, from slave raiding and then also holding Fox people as slaves, really led to the denigration of their authority. The French were, before these wars, people to really pander to. Now you will have the French pandering more and more to her native allies, really sort of breaking down their sort of position. And then you guys have it. That's the fast fact. It ran a little longer than the normal fast fact, but that's your fast fact on the Fox Wars and the impact the Fox War had on French native relationships. As always, I hope you guys liked it. Leave a comment, subscribe, and more importantly, let me know what you thought about the Fox Wars. As always, I'm Ted, and I'll see you guys next time.